Hey guys, so we're in the Rabat today in Sueca. It's the big market. There are souks everywhere going through here. It's really crowded. And we are headed to the Mohammed V Mausoleum and Hassan Tower. And I can't wait to show you. Okay guys, so I'm walking from the Sueca, the market, which is in the Medina of Rabat. Rabat is the capital city of Morocco, if you're not familiar with Morocco much. And we're in the center of the city now, outside of Sueca. And we're heading towards Hassan Tower. In order to get there, we have to pass this really interesting, I love this intersection of Rabat. It's one of my favorite places. Just because you can see so many influences in the architecture, French, you can see the Moorish architecture as well. So I love the way it looks, and it's very kind of retro to me. It's very old feeling. It reminds me of what it might look like maybe in the 1930s when Morocco was at the height of its economy and booming. So I'm going to show you a little bit about what's here. Behind me, this is Bank al-Maghrib, so that's the Bank of Morocco. Over here, this is Morocco Telecom. It's the big major telephone company in Morocco. And then here we have the central office for the post service. So we're just going to walk down this way. We're going to head past here. There's the big mosque back here called Jemma, and we'll be at Hassan Tower soon. Okay guys, so here we are across the street from where we were, and you can see behind me the tower, the minaret of the Jemma Mosque, and we're heading that way. So we'll take some more footage as we get closer. So I have to be careful how I'm filming right here because on my right side is the Parliament building, and you're not allowed to film that. If they think that I'm filming the Parliament, then they'll come and confiscate my phone and make me delete the video. So, but I wanted you to see the old architecture here. You can see a lot of that French influence that was here throughout the early 19th century, 18th century, 19th century. And it's just, it adds to the richness of what Morocco is today. Once we get past Parliament, then I'll be able to show you some of the buildings around. But a lot of that has that colonial influence feel behind us. So I'm at another intersection here. We're still not quite to Jemma yet. But I just wanted to show you this amazing architecture in the city. It's just beautiful. Behind me over here, this is the train station, Rabat train station, and it is currently under major renovations. They're remodeling from the inside. I actually came into this train station after I came back from one of my trips. So was pretty interesting to come in here to the train station and see all of the construction that's going under. So we are still heading to the mosque, and let's go. So I thought this was kind of interesting that for a small country like Morocco, it's really good with public transportation. As you can see behind me, you can see the tram tracks. So there's a tramway that goes through the city. Happens to pass the Rabat train station as well. So it's pretty cool. They have great taxi services. They're a little complicated. So some taxis only are allowed to go in certain parts of the city. You can't leave the city borders, and then you have to pick up a different taxi that will take you to a different city if you need to go. So I live in another city about 25 minutes from here, 25 minutes if. And so I have to take 2 taxis to get through here. So we get a taxi from, close to my apartment, and we go to a terminal that has taxis, and then we pick up the big white taxis and we come into the city. So it's a little bit more complicated, considering, in the US you take 1 taxi and you just pay exorbitant amounts. But here it's actually a really decent price for a taxi. And so here we are. There's Hawaii in Morocco, Cafe Hawaii, and there's one of the popular drinks that Moroccans love so much here is called Hawaii. If you've never had it, you're really missing out. So, but that's where that comes from. This tree is pretty awesome. I really thought it was cool. And I'll show you underneath here. Okay, so underneath this tree, I'm gonna flip you kind of upside down so you can see the canopy. And the Moroccan moss that's hanging from it. We call it in the US, we call it Spanish moss in the south. But here, I'm gonna call it Moroccan moss. So, but it's just cool. It provides a really great amount of shade. It gets really, really hot here in the summertime. So it's a great sitting place. It kind of emphasizes the socialization that is so central and integral to Moroccan culture. So behind me you can see the mosque, Jama Sunnah. Jama just means mosque, and Sunnah means that it's a Sunnah mosque. Anyway, I'm in a neighborhood here in Rabat called Hassan. And Hassan is one of the best neighborhoods to stay in Rabat. It has cafes and restaurants. It's beautiful. It's absolutely amazing to see the city here. And behind me is a museum of art. So you can see there. And this amazing architecture. I mean, you can't get much more beautiful than this.
Underneath it all, everything's actually all right. You're okay. You have more power than you might be giving yourself credit for. And if you have something that's going on in your life right now that's challenging, painful, it's just a reminder to take a little bit better care of yourself. You're worth it. You can have this feeling anytime you choose.
So we finished walking through the neighborhood of Hassan, and we're going to turn to go the rest of the way to Hassan Tower. But I wanted to take the opportunity to show you that at the end of Rabat is a river, Morocco, and beyond that river is the city of Salih. And so the river is what separates the two. It's really kind of an extension of Rabat. Salih is its own city now, just because it's gotten so big, but it's part of, still under that river. So behind me, the mausoleum where the kings are buried and the prince. The architecture that's quintessential Moorish architecture, and you see that all over Morocco. even though this wasn't built in that era. It was built much later, but it still has that strong Moorish influence in it. And there's the minaret that we've been waiting for. That's Hassan Tower. Let's go see what we can find. I can't wait to see these guards down here on horseback. So the history behind Hassan Tower, which is now behind me, as you can see, what that is actually it's a minaret for the proposed mosque that Al-Mansur had commissioned in the 12th century. When he died in 1199, construction ended on what was meant at that point to be the largest mosque and minaret in the Western Muslim world. The minaret currently, as it stands right here, stands at 44 meters, which is about 144 feet. So it was immense. What they did, though, in the construction of it was they had started some partial walls, and there are about 349 columns inside this walled area where it was meant to be. So you can see one of the columns here behind me. Unfortunately, with COVID, everything is closed. We didn't realize that they were completely closed down. The architecture of this mosque was very Moorish in its design. You can see a lot of the architectural design in it. If I can get past the fence here, it's not a really great opportunity to see it through the fence, but let's see if I can move out and you can see some of it here. Behind me with the green roof on it, that's the mausoleum of Muhammad V. That was commissioned in 1961 when King Muhammad V passed away, and they took 10 years to build that mausoleum. And so in 1971, his body was moved to this mausoleum. In 1983, his son Abdullah, one of the crown princes here in Morocco, passed away, and he is also buried here. And then later on, King Hassan II, another son of Muhammad V, who succeeded King Muhammad V, was also buried here in 1999 when he passed away. So we managed to get our hands through the gate so that we could put the phone through so you could see a little bit better the 349 columns that are partially completed in the construction of this, what was supposed to be the mosque. There are a few walls you can see in the distance that they had started and just never finished. It amazes me how old this is. We're talking prior to 1199 when the Caliph passed away. So this is probably one of the oldest things I've ever seen. This is a better view of the tower, Hassan Tower, the minaret of what was the proposed mosque at that time. And you can see that amazing Moorish architecture and the painstaking detail that went into creating this beautiful piece of art. Over here is that river that I was telling you guys about earlier, and behind me is a brand new movie theater that was designed very kind of state-of-the-art, which is kind of interesting to me when you see the old Moorish architecture of Morocco and then you see this sci-fi looking building kind of pop out of nowhere. And it hasn't even opened yet because of COVID restrictions and still under construction, so it's not even open yet, but it's going to be amazing. I can't even imagine what that's going to be like when it's finally open. And then beyond that is the city of Salih, the one that I kind of showed you a sneak peek of before. And then there's the river. So we'll end our trip here. Rabat has so much to offer, and there's so many more things that I'll bring you down here to see. But it's late in the day and we need to head back. It's still Ramadan. I want to show you the marina. And ultimately the reason that we came here today is the Hassan II Tower. For those of you who are celebrating Ramadan, I wish you a happy Ramadan. And I hope your fast is easy. And I will see you soon.
So much to the poltergeist. Trying to hold on to love, but it's frost and nice time. Much but a light from a falling sky. Apply to the forces above us like keep holding on to this present time. Inspired by the ones that were left behind us. We fell for the light of a foreign sky. Applying to the forces above this life. So much to the poltergeist. Trying to hold on to love, but it's frost and nice time. Much but a light.